That wasn't just an outburst, it was a warning. And years later in court, that same fire came back. Diddy lunged at a witness with such force that security had to step in and hold him back. But that kind of anger didn't start there. It had been building up for a long time. Even after his arrest, things were far from over. There were secret calls from prison, hush money being passed around, some of it even handled by his own mother. And then came Cassie's statement. What she shared didn't just make the case worse, it made it horrifying. Let me break it down for you. The witness testimony. Let's start with something truly disturbing. Court records suggest that Diddy has been secretly reaching out to witnesses while behind bars. Yes, seriously. He might be locked up, but he's still trying to call the shots like he's in control. Prosecutors say he's been making non-stop efforts to mess with witness statements. That's not just bending the rules, it's completely breaking them and diving headfirst into criminal behavior. So how was he pulling this off? Turns out he was using other inmates' phone accounts to make his calls, something that clearly breaks prison rules. It's kind of like sneaking into a club with someone else's ID, except this is way more serious and comes with much harsher penalties. He was reportedly telling others to arrange payments just to get access, setting up a secret network to reach people who might speak out against him. But it doesn't stop there. He wasn't only making contact himself, he was also allegedly telling his own family members to reach out to these potential witnesses. Getting your own mother involved in this kind of mess? That's hitting a new low, especially when you're already facing heavy accusations. His mom, Janice Combs, was even mentioned in a lawsuit for supposedly trying to convince someone to take hush money. Just think about that. Your own mother helping to quiet people who say you caused them harm. That's not protecting your child. That's helping to cover up abuse. Diddy also allegedly coordinated social media responses from behind bars. Reports say he helped write an Instagram post with Witness 2 through texts and calls, trying to push back against Don Richards' claims. And here's the kicker. Prosecutors say he paid that witness after the post went live. Trying to buy loyalty? That's not how justice is supposed to work, Diddy. He even took it a step further, tracking the views and reactions to a birthday video posted by his 7 kids. He reportedly talked with his family about how it might sway potential jurors. That's some serious manipulation, aiming to shape public opinion before the trial even began. These actions played a big role in the decision to deny his bail. Prosecutors pointed out how easily Diddy gets others, whether workers, family, or inmates, to do what he wants, showing a clear risk of interfering with witnesses. The judge agreed that no bail conditions could stop that risk. Simply put, if he were released, he'd be back on the phone in no time, trying to sway everyone connected to the case. Now let's dive into some of the wild conspiracy theories tied to this case. One of the most talked about involves a man named Jonathan Addy. Back in 2018, Addy was arrested for firing shots at Trump's Doral, Miami resort. During questioning, he made some shocking statements. He claimed he was basically a servant for both Diddy and Cassie. He also said that Diddy would give him instructions on what to do with Cassie during their meetings. Addy also said he signed a $5 million non-disclosure agreement with Diddy back in July 2014. His ex-wife, Tanya Troutwine, supported this claim, connecting it to their divorce that year and Addy's sudden cash buys of several properties. At first, many people thought Addy's story was just the result of his troubled mind in the violent episode at the resort. But here's where things get even more interesting. Cassie's testimony during the trial seems to support Addy's claim that he was involved in sexual encounters with Diddy. Some people online are saying this proves another conspiracy theory might actually be true. For example, a user on MLC Patriot posted on May 14, 2025, saying that with Cassie Ventura's testimony, it looks like the saying, "Where there's smoke, there's fire," applies here. There's serious heat behind all of this. And in this case, the smoke is thick enough to fill an entire stadium. Some people believe that Diddy's behavior was no secret in the music world, and that other powerful people might have been helping him or keeping it quiet. There's talk about other celebrities and industry executives being involved, pointing to a network of silence that let these things go on for years. It's not surprising, considering how often powerful people avoid consequences because they're shielded by even bigger players. Some believe this goes beyond just one case, hinting at a wider problem of abuse in the entertainment world, with Cassie being just one of many victims. These claims point to a bigger, system-wide problem, even though the proof is mostly indirect and argued over. But when you see the pattern, not just with Cassie, but with several other women, it's hard not to wonder how far this really goes. Now, there's another important detail from the trial: an alleged third victim who hasn't been cooperating with the prosecutors. According to sources, this woman, referred to as Victim 3 in the indictment, is a former girlfriend of Diddy's. Prosecutors have struggled to get her to testify, and there are rumors she's been uncooperative from the start. We know she's an ex-girlfriend, and there was a lot of talk about her in court this week. Prosecutors said they're having trouble getting her to show up because of personal issues she's dealing with. The government described it like she wants to be there, but they're not sure if they'll actually be able to get her to testify. They're in talks with her lawyer now. So, why might someone hesitate to testify against a person accused of abuse? There could be many reasons: fear of retaliation, worries about personal safety, or the stress of being in the spotlight. And maybe, just maybe, Diddy or someone close to him has reached out to pressure her into staying silent. Unfortunately, it's not the first time someone with power has tried to keep victims quiet. This missing witness could seriously hurt the prosecution's case. As one legal expert explained, the prosecutors need several victims to show a pattern of behavior. This helps prove it wasn't just a bad relationship with Cassie, but a consistent way Diddy treated women. Without Victim 3, their case might lose strength, which could be why they're so determined to get her to testify. There's also been some strange moments from Diddy during the trial. On the very first day, he was seen reading a Bible at the defense table right before opening statements. Now, it's not unusual for someone to turn to faith in hard times, but the timing seemed a bit too convenient, like when a teacher catches you passing notes and suddenly you act like the best student in class. Social media was quick to call it out as a clear attempt to seem more sympathetic to the jury. One former user joked, "No one's buying that act after all the baby oil." This was a nod to the over 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant reportedly found in Diddy's homes. Another person added, "People who put on a public show like this definitely aren't genuine Christians." The skepticism is understandable. People have seen this before. It's like when a celebrity gets caught doing something bad and suddenly announces a rehab stay or makes a big charity donation. Nowadays, we recognize these moves for what they really are, not true signs of regret. These moves aren't about real regret. They're carefully planned attempts to fix a public image that's been seriously damaged by their own actions. But one of the most chilling parts of the trial came from the hotel incident. The security guard who answered Cassie's call for help said Diddy had a cold, menacing look on his face the moment he stepped off the elevator. Sorry, that's not the face of someone admitting a mistake. It's the expression of a person furious they got caught, furious their power is slipping away. And then, according to the security officer, Diddy allegedly tried to buy his silence. The officer refused the money, but just the offer says a lot about how Diddy deals with the risk of exposure. He throws cash at the problem, hoping to bury it. He tries to buy silence. He uses his wealth as a shield against accountability. The officer said he went back upstairs to talk to Puff, explaining the hotel's rules and that he had to cover some charges. Diddy had this devilish stare on his face when he came out of the elevator. The security officer said Diddy allegedly offered him money, trying to keep everything under wraps for both her and him. But Diddy's defense team, led by Brian Still, pounced on inconsistencies in the officer's incident report to try to discredit his testimony. Diddy had this devilish stare on his face when he came out of the elevator. The security officer said Diddy allegedly offered him money, trying to keep everything under wraps for both her and him. But Diddy's defense team, led by Brian Still, pounced on inconsistencies in the officer's incident report to try to discredit his testimony. They questioned why the officer didn't include key details in his original report, like Cassie having a purple eye or a man being inside the hotel room. They also pointed out that he took videos on his phone of the aftermath and sent them to his wife, which made it seem like he was more interested in showing off than genuinely concerned about what happened. Brian Still argued, when you write incident reports, you have to cover the W's: who, what, when, where, why. Where, what, why, who, all the details. Brian still pressed. He told the officer, incident reports are important, right? When we're recounting what happened, we rely on your report. Everything in your report is considered valid because everyone depends on it. He agreed, saying, yeah, it's a classic defense move. Undermine the witness's credibility, make them seem unreliable, inconsistent, or biased. But here's the thing, even if the security officer left out some details in his report, even if he was a bit eager to share that he'd encountered a celebrity, the video speaks for itself. We've all seen the footage of Diddy assaulting Cassie. No legal tricks can erase that kind of evidence. The control freak and his victim caught on camera. Now let's talk about the star of this horrific story, Cassie Ventura. She's now pregnant and due to have a baby in June. According to her testimony, she's been through absolute hell. When she took the stand on May 13th, it was reportedly the first time she'd seen Diddy since 2018. Attorneys say this was the first time they'd seen each other since 2018, when Cassie attended the funeral for Kim Porter, the mother of Sean Combs' 3 children. Can you imagine facing your abuser in court while pregnant? The strength Cassie has shown is nothing short of incredible. Honestly, if it were me, I'd probably be shaking in my boots. But Cassie walked in with her head held high, looking every bit the queen she is. When she entered the courtroom, Rachel, she wore a form-fitting brown dress, her pregnancy visible, and she didn't make a single glance toward Sean Combs, the defendant. When we talk about how Diddy treats witnesses, we have to start with the most damning evidence. That horrific video showing him physically assaulting Cassie in a hotel hallway back in 2016. Y'all, this isn't just a simple argument. This is a man dragging a woman, throwing things at her, stomping on her. It's the kind of footage that makes you want to throw your phone across the room, because it's that disturbing. You know what's wild? Diddy's defense team is trying to spin this video like it was just a normal argument between a couple. They're really out here saying this wasn't about forcing her to stay for one of those special parties, but instead, it was about Diddy having another woman's number in his phone. Like that somehow makes it any better. Child, please. He said Diddy offered him a ton of money. And Brian still was like, I thought it was a stack. Yeah, the officer said Diddy came out with a huge stack of cash, but then still argued he didn't actually offer it. Speaking of the video, let's talk about the security officer who was there that night. He testified that when Cassie called for help, he found her visibly distressed, repeating the same thing over and over. And you know what Diddy allegedly said? No, she's not going anywhere. That's not a man in a relationship. That's not just controlling. It's like kidnapping. It's someone acting like they own another person. The security guard also said Diddy tried to pay him off to stay silent. Now, if he was truly innocent, why would he feel the need to buy people's silence? I'll tell you, because he's hiding something. He's trying to cover up what he did and protect his image. But it's too late for that. Everyone sees the truth now. Now let's dive into how Diddy supposedly kept Cassie under his control during their relationship. This part is really unsettling. According to Cassie's testimony, Diddy wanted to control every little thing, from the clothes she wore, to who she could talk to, even down to the color of her nails. He wanted her nails to always be white or have French tips. Seriously, was he her boyfriend or her boss? The prosecution asked Cassie questions to show she didn't have control. She said Sean Combs decided everything, from what she wore, to the lighting in the room, even how she was supposed to behave with the person she was intimate with. And then comes the most troubling part, what they called the freak-offs. I'll keep it appropriate since some young people might be watching. But basically, Cassie said she was forced to take part in intimate activities with other people while Diddy watched. Cassie said these events sometimes lasted as long as 4 days. 4 days. Imagine being forced to do something against your will for that long. It was so hard on her that she had to get IV fluids afterward to recover. Cassie said she often dealt with painful health problems because of those events. She got really bad urinary tract infections that sometimes didn't get better even with antibiotics. She also had mouth sores and stomach issues from the medication and the physical strain she went through. This wasn't just abuse, it was pure torture. It was someone using another person's body without caring about their pain or health. What's even more heartbreaking is when Cassie was asked if she ever found any of it enjoyable. She started crying and said the only reason she went through it was to have some time alone with Diddy. That's the pain of psychological abuse. It's when someone breaks you down so much that you begin to confuse abuse with love. When the lawyer asked if she ever enjoyed those freak-offs, Cassie got emotional and said she did, but only because it meant having some private time with Combs, who she truly loved. But let me be clear, that's not what love looks like. That's not what love is. Real love doesn't hurt you or try to control you. It doesn't leave you feeling ashamed or dirty. Cassie said after the first freak-off, she felt exactly like that, dirty and wanting it to stop. She even tried to talk about it in an email, but Diddy shut her down. In the end, she backed off because she was scared. What stood out to me was when Cassie said that after the first freak-off, she felt dirty and didn't want to go through it again. She even tried to bring it up in an email, something the jurors got to see. But then she backed away from the conversation because Combs replied with, "I know you don't want to do it." She tried to explain in the email that it wasn't exactly that she didn't want to do it, but that was just the start. Back in 2010, she brought up wanting to talk about it. In her own words, she didn't want to go through with it, but felt like she had no choice. Keep in mind, Cassie was only 22 years old at the time, still so young. At the same time, Diddy was a fully grown man, a powerful figure in the music world, with tons of connections and influence. The gap in power between them was huge. Cassie was young and just starting out, trying to make her way in the industry. Cassie had just signed a 10-album deal with Diddy's Bad Boy Entertainment. Her whole future depended on him, and he was fully aware of that. She was young and clearly influenced by her dream of making it big in music. She signed a 10-album deal with Bad Boy Entertainment, run by Sean Combs. Cassie talks about being captivated by him, loving him without knowing everything, and how he guided her through certain things. This case really exposes the darker side of the music business, how power can be used to manipulate, control, and harm people. This case shows us that even those we look up to, the people who seem to have everything, can hide a darker, cruel side. The hardest part is that the jurors were shown pictures of the injuries Cassie suffered during their relationship. Bruises, black eyes, swollen lips, and bumps on her forehead. This wasn't just a single incident. It was a long history of abuse that went on for years. Now about Diddy's appearance in court, he's clearly trying to change his image. He doesn't look like the flashy, jewelry-covered star we usually see. Instead, he showed up with gray hair, glasses, and wearing simple sweaters, trying to seem as harmless as possible. One commentator pointed out how appearance plays a big role in court cases. They noted that Diddy's look, sweaters, gray hair, glasses, isn't accidental. It's all part of a strategy. As the commentator put it, it's like a wolf in sheep's clothing, trying to convince the jury he's harmless. "We see right through you, Diddy. No fancy sweaters or glasses can cover up what the world has already seen." And while he's been trying to present a softer image in court, his family, including his mom and kids, have been showing up to stand by him. There was even a moment outside the courtroom where Diddy and his family seemed to form a prayer circle. They were heard saying things like, "Give it to God and seek his face." It honestly felt more like a public relations move than a genuine moment of faith. The whole scene gave off, "Please let the jury forget what they saw" vibes. "Seek his face," they kept repeating. What really stood out, though, was how Diddy reacted during Cassie's testimony. When she walked into the courtroom, he supposedly turned to look at her, but she didn't return the glance. She kept her eyes straight ahead, completely ignoring him. Can you picture how much courage that must take? To enter a room and face someone accused of putting you through years of pain and not even glance their way? That's real strength. Cassie handled it with quiet power. While she spoke, Diddy reportedly listened closely to every word she said. No surprise there. He knew the world was finally hearing her side. You could almost feel the tension in the room as Cassie began to speak. From the second she opened her mouth, Diddy was fully locked in, listening closely, likely bracing himself for what she might say next. What truths would come out? What image of him would be shattered? The jurors were just as focused, hanging on every word. Interestingly, though, even with all eyes on him, Diddy kept his reactions in check. No dramatic responses, no visible emotion, just silence as the testimony unfolded. It's almost like Diddy is putting on a performance, keeping his face calm, his body still, trying not to react. But just like he allegedly controlled the people in his life, he now seems to be trying to control how he's perceived in court. The thing is, silence can be loud. Just because he's not showing emotion doesn't mean he's not feeling the pressure. And with the kind of testimony that's been shared, you can bet he is. Now let's talk about the defense. Diddy's legal team, led by Mark Agnifilo and Tenny Garagos, is sticking to a firm narrative that every encounter was entirely consensual. They're claiming that Cassie and Diddy were simply involved in a lifestyle they both agreed on. No pressure, no force, just consent. They're even suggesting that the now infamous 2016 video, which shocked a lot of people, has been edited or altered. But this is where their argument starts to crumble. How do you aggressively question a pregnant woman in court without looking like the bad guy? That's a real challenge, and many legal experts are highlighting this tricky situation. It's going to be tough for Diddy's lawyer, whoever is handling the cross-examination, to press her hard. There's just a line you can't cross with someone in her position. You can't argue with what she's saying and come off as tough without risking backlash. It's like trying to tiptoe through a minefield in bowling shoes, almost impossible to avoid slipping up. The defense team knows this, which is why some experts think they might try a different tactic. But honestly, even if they go easy on Cassie during cross-examination, the harm to their case is already done. Her testimony has clearly shown the abuse she says she went through, and the jury is paying close attention. The jurors are reportedly very focused on Cassie's words, especially since she was involved with Diddy for more than 10 years. This case goes beyond just one troubled relationship. It highlights a pattern of abusive power, a deliberate way to control and take advantage of others. If these claims are proven true, it could shake up the whole industry and encourage more people to come forward with their own stories of abuse. One of the strongest moments in the trial came when Cassie spoke about trying to find her identity and understand who she was allowed to be. That phrase, who she was allowed to be, really stands out. It shows just how much control Diddy supposedly had over her, not just in a physical sense, but emotionally and mentally too. Cassie is coming across as someone who was really struggling to find herself back then, trying to understand who she was and who she was allowed to be. Now, nearly 40 and a very different person, she reflects on that time when she was using drugs and trying to please Sean Combs. What she's describing paints a clear picture of how much control she didn't have. As her testimony goes on, expected to last a few more days, we're likely to hear even more troubling details about their relationship. Although it's clearly painful for Cassie to share these memories, there's strength in telling her truth, calling out her abuser, and shining a light on the dark parts of her past. Throughout the trial, her husband has been there for her, sitting just a few rows behind in the courtroom. That support creates a striking contrast to everything she's been through. The man who is accused of abusing her for years is now by her side as she shares her story. It's a powerful reminder that healing is possible, that survivors can find love again and rebuild their lives. There's been some talk about how the first day of the trial went, with some saying Diddy's defense came out on top. But honestly, I'm not convinced. Yes, the defense was able to raise some questions about the security officer's testimony, but the video showing Diddy assaulting Cassie is still a very strong piece of evidence that's tough to dismiss. So if we're scoring day one, it looks like Diddy's team won the round. However, as one commentator said, no matter how strong the defense is, that video leaves a mark that can't be ignored. What's really striking is that no matter what they say or do, they can't undo what everyone saw in that video. They might try to change the story, but if you've watched it, it sticks with you. It's like trying to convince someone that water isn't wet. Just not going to happen. You can argue all you want, but the proof is clear. There's no denying it. That's it for now. Don't forget to check out our other videos by clicking on the screen. Hollywood's sparkle and fame often cover up some of its darkest secrets. But every once in a while, the truth starts to come out. And when it does, it shakes the whole industry. Right now, everyone's watching one man, Sean Diddy Combs. After years of dominating the music and entertainment world, troubling allegations have suddenly surfaced against Diddy. Not long ago, Hollywood's top figures sent a clear warning, suggesting that the once untouchable mogul might now be facing his toughest battle yet. In this video, we'll break down the latest updates in Diddy's case, explore the silence from the industry's biggest names, and reveal shocking accusations recently made by comedian Rosie O'Donnell, who has come forward with serious claims against him. Sit tight, because what we're about to reveal might change everything you thought you knew about one of pop culture's biggest icons. Sean Diddy Combs' arrest is a seismic shock in Hollywood, a world often criticized for letting its stars live in a bubble of impunity. As a kingpin in the entertainment industry, Diddy's fall from grace is pulling back the curtain on long-whispered secrets that many in Hollywood have desperately tried to keep hidden. But this arrest was more than just a legal event. It ignited a wave of reactions, each one louder and more intense than the last, coming from the most unexpected corners of the industry. It almost feels like Hollywood has been holding its breath for this moment, a collective reckoning where those who've lived in fear or frustration are finally standing up and saying, "It's about time." If anyone thinks this is just about Diddy, think again. Hollywood's message is loud and clear. No one is untouchable. Take 50 Cent, for example. Known for loving a good feud, his longtime rivalry with Diddy gave him plenty to work with. The moment Diddy's arrest broke, 50 Cent took to social media, cracking jokes and sprinkling in just the right amount of sarcasm. He also made fun of some strange stories coming out, like the claim that they found 1,000 bottles of baby oil at Diddy's place. In a tweet, he joked about hanging out on the Drew Barrymore show and said he doesn't even have that many bottles of lubricant at his own house. Classic 50, right? But even though he was joking, there was a serious point behind it. As usual, 50 Cent's response had that "I told you so" vibe. He showed what a lot of people are thinking, that Diddy's arrest was something he should have faced a long time ago. It's the kind of teasing that says, he's been running the show for too long, and now it's finally caught up with him. In his own way, 50 Cent spoke what many in Hollywood have been quietly thinking. No matter how powerful someone is, eventually they have to face the consequences. But not everyone responded with jokes. Charlemagne Tha God, a well-known and respected radio host, was more serious. On The Breakfast Club, Charlemagne spoke plainly. He warned that Diddy's arrest might just be the beginning and hinted that others involved in Diddy's infamous parties could also end up facing legal trouble. His message was serious and somber. It was almost like he was giving a serious warning to the public. If Diddy is charged with racketeering and sex trafficking just for wild parties, then others involved could face trouble too. He basically said that if you ever took part in any of those parties, whether it was a group situation or being partially or fully naked with Diddy around, and there were others who were told they were part of the event, you might be headed to jail. His point made it clear this isn't just one scandal. It could set off a chain reaction, with more people getting caught up in the investigation. You can almost picture others living wild lifestyles starting to sweat nervously now. Could Diddy's arrest be the start of a bigger reckoning in Hollywood? Charlemagne certainly thinks so. Then there's Jameel Hill, a journalist who's not afraid to call out those in power. She reminded everyone that behind all the glitz and fame, there are real victims, especially black women. Hill's call was clear. Justice needs to be served for the women who may have quietly suffered because of what Diddy is accused of. Her message struck a chord in an industry that too often puts celebrity status above basic human respect. I know people will make jokes about Diddy and even bring up R. Kelly, but we need to remember the many black women whose lives were deeply harmed by these terrible men, Hill wrote on X, formerly Twitter. She made it clear that this isn't about condemning all black men. Instead, the real story is that these women are finally getting the justice they deserve. Her response takes the discussion beyond just celebrity rumors. It's a serious reminder that bigger social problems are involved here. But as usual in Hollywood, not everyone's reaction was straightforward. Foxy Brown's mysterious posts on social media added a layer of intrigue. If you read closely, it seems like she might be hinting at more shocking revelations ahead. Could there be more secrets about Diddy or others that haven't come to light yet? Foxy's words have sparked a lot of speculation, and now people are eager to see what other hidden truths might surface from Hollywood's past. Foxy Brown's vague message felt like a warning sign. On her Instagram story, she wrote, "Things are about to get really intense. This is only the beginning. Hollywood scandals have a way of growing bigger and more complicated. Are we about to uncover even more shocking truths? On the other hand, Serena Williams responded with calm and clarity. She didn't drop any hints or jokes, but kept her reaction thoughtful and serious. Instead, Serena focused on hoping for a just verdict in the trial. As a global icon and someone known for standing up for what's right, her words held real significance. "I hope justice is finally served," she commented on a recent post about Diddy's arrest. Her response was a clear reminder that no one is above the law, no matter how famous they are. In a world where celebrities often seem untouchable, Serena's down-to-earth view stood out. She wasn't celebrating someone's fall from grace. She was simply emphasizing that the rules apply to everyone, even those at the very top of Hollywood. Meanwhile, Aubrey O'Day had her own powerful moment. She has openly shared her difficult experiences with Diddy for some time, and now she felt a sense of justice finally catching up. Her reaction was deeply emotional, almost like a long-awaited breath of relief, like she had been waiting for someone to finally hear her for years. Justice is meant to bring closure and give us a chance to move forward, but women rarely get that chance. She shared, "I feel seen and validated. Today isn't just a win for me, it's a victory for women everywhere." For Aubrey, this was much more than just headlines or gossip. It was something deeply personal for her. She said, "I never imagined I'd live to see this moment. We all carried this pain inside to keep going." She wasn't just speaking for herself, but for others who have been hurt and haven't even come forward yet. Right now, they're all trying to understand what true justice feels like. She added, "Every talk I had with survivors last night was incredibly powerful on so many levels. In Hollywood, where many keep their pain hidden, O'Day's words could inspire others to speak up. But as always in this world, there's someone ready to challenge the crowd. That someone is Boozy Badass, who seemed completely unfazed by all the attention." Boozy downplayed the seriousness of Diddy's actions, stirring up a heated debate with a tweet saying Diddy's behavior wasn't much different from what other stars have done. Some fans agreed, while others quickly scrolled past in frustration. Boozy's response shows there's still a part of Hollywood that resists change and wants to hold on to old habits. What a turning point this is. The news of Diddy's arrest has stirred up a whirlwind of rumors, gossip, and some people quietly enjoying the downfall. But this isn't just about one famous person facing charges. It's a clear message to the whole entertainment world. If someone as powerful as Diddy can be taken down, then who's next? It looks like Hollywood is finally starting to hold its biggest stars accountable. The era of unchecked celebrity behavior might be coming to an end, or at least it should. Stepping away from the intense and serious reactions from Hollywood's elite, what new developments have emerged in Diddy's case? Let's take a closer look. Recent developments, P. Diddy's legal battle has quickly become the hottest topic in the entertainment world, with each fresh detail adding layers of complexity to an already tangled defense. Just imagine what it's like to be right in the middle of all this chaos. New lawsuits, startling allegations, and an ever-growing wave of accusations keep piling up relentlessly. This is the world Sean Combs, better known as Diddy, now navigates. His legal team must feel like they're stuck in a never-ending game of legal whack-a-mole. Just as they manage to knock down one claim, another emerges with even more sensational accusations. At the center of the controversy is the explosive documentary The Downfall of Diddy, which recently premiered on Tubi and is inflicting more damage on Diddy's reputation than any tabloid ever could. This isn't your typical documentary. It was produced by none other than TMZ. Yes, the very same outlet famous for breaking celebrity scandals. The film features rare testimonies and alleged first-hand accounts from individuals once close to Diddy, including former associates like Aubrey O'Day, Stevie J, and Mark Curry. Even Suge Knight, a figure synonymous with the darker side of the rap industry, makes an appearance, adding fuel to the already blazing fire. It's as if everyone is coming out of the woodwork to either take a jab or air their grievances.